Okay, now that we've talked about how energy can cause matter to change state, we're actually going to look at the difference between physical and chemical properties. So this goes with learning target 7, be able to distinguish between examples of physical and chemical properties. Okay, a physical property is a characteristic of matter that can be observed without changing its identity of the matter. So, if we look at the density, the size, shape, color, state of matter, whether it's an acid or a base, if those are all physical properties, we can observe the color of an apple without changing the apple's identity. Now, when we look at physical properties, we classify them in two ways, as size dependent and size independent. Physical properties that change when size changes is size dependent. So volume, height, length, mass, and width, those are all size dependent properties. For example, if you cut an apple in half, you've changed its mass, and that's a size dependent property. A size independent property is a physical property does not change when size changes. For example, you cut an apple in half, it's still red. Density does not change, and the state of matter doesn't change. If you cut an apple in half, it's still solid. Okay, two physical properties that I mentioned above that we have never talked about are acids and bases. When we look at substances, we can actually classify them as either acidic or basic. If it's an acid, and just so you know, matter will either be acidic, basic, or neutral. An acid is going to be sour tasting. It has a pH of 0 to 7. I'll show you what that means in a minute. It's corrosive. Bases are bitter, pH of 7 through 14, corrosive, and slippery. So if you look here, this is what we call our pH scale, from 0 all the way to 14. Neutral is right in the middle, is number 7. So water is a neutral substance. It's neither acidic nor basic. Below 7, these are all your acidic substances. So the stomach acid, which is actually hydrochloric acid in your stomach, is extremely acidic. Your fruits are acidic. Things that are bases are like cleaning products like ammonia and soap and bleach and oven cleaner. Okay, baking soda, eggs, those are all basics. They have a pH of above 7. Now, there are ways that we can tell whether substances are acids or bases. You can do a test. This is a piece of paper called litmus paper. If you dip that in a substance, and it obviously needs to be a liquid, in order to do that, it changes color. That color will tell you what pH it is. If it's green, it's going to usually be 7 neutral. If you get more of the orange and the yellows and reds, those are your acids. Blues and purples are usually your bases. Okay, so when we look at acids and bases, one of the things that we look at is how do we neutralize them? Well, when we neutralize an acid or a base, we will actually change those acids and bases into salt and water. And that's one of the reasons why when you have an upset stomach, because your hydrochloric acid in your stomach is acting up, then they give you anti-acid tablets or Tums. Those are bases. So when you add an acid and a base, it's going to change into salt and water, and that will neutralize. So that's why when people say they have heartburn, they take a base. To show you an example of that, we've got a hydrochloric acid, which is a base, hydrochloric acid, which is an acid, sodium hydroxide, which is a base. If I add the hydrochloric acid to the base, then that will change into water and sodium chloride, which is a salt. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is a chemical property. So everything above so far has been physical properties that we can observe about matter without changing the matter. So we can observe whether matter is an acid or a base without changing what it is. We can just use, like I said, the litmus paper to test. We can look at mass, color, size, shape. Those are all physical properties. Chemical properties are properties that allow matter to change into a new substance. So if matter has the ability to react with oxygen and rust, then that is a chemical property. For example, if you take a look at this picture right here, this is rusting. So this metal has the ability to react with oxygen. That's a chemical property. If a material is flammable, has the ability to burn, then that's also a chemical property. Another chemical property is corrosive or toxicity. So sometimes you see these signs, certain chemicals are corrosive, and if they land on your skin, they can harm your skin. That's a chemical property. So chemical property is something that's going to allow matter to change into something new. So for example, this metal, when it reacts with oxygen and turns into rust, the rust and the metal are not the same thing. So the metal changed into a new substance. Whenever whenever something is flammable, like a piece of wood, wood when it burns turns into ash. Ash is a new substance different from the wood. So that flammability is a chemical property. Corrosive and toxicity, when you add a chemical to your skin and it burns your skin, okay, that chemical has gotten into your skin and damaged your skin, and your cells are dead, so they are no longer the same matter. That's why that corrosive and toxicity is a chemical property. Okay, so that concludes our notes on understanding the difference between physical and chemical properties, learning target 7.